One day I just popped my notebook out and I thought this could be my reality. Oh God. Whoa, hello.
You have a new play this summer coming up, right? Is that?
Yes,
correct?
yes. It's based on my life. Come in, Miss McConaughey, sir. It's open. I had this vision for a very long time. My character is married to Matthew McConaughey, and sometimes it's like crazy.
She's either an incredible genius or she just has amazing luck.
People may say that you can't do something because you have Down syndrome. And do you ever start to believe that?
Sometimes I do, but you have to deal with criticism.
Maple syrup, yeah, take it easy on that too. Here,
Chad, stop saying that. I know what I'm doing.
Jazmine doesn't want anyone to tell her what to do or assist her in the choices that she's made.
She believes she's destined for greatness.
Good morning, I have a special delivery from Britney Spears.
Chad and Jazmine are siblings.
There's some obstacles that's like blocking me, and I want to get out of that and go into my subconscious. At the end of the play, when you walk on stage with all the cast and hearing the praises of the audience, it's like exhilarating.
I'm curious, right off the bat, Patrick, how you got involved in this project. I know that you live or you work in Savannah, so I imagine you and Chad probably came together at some point, but talk a little bit about how this all came about and what it was about this family that you wanted to capture in a documentary sense.
Yeah, so I knew Chad from around town here in Savannah, Georgia. We have a lot of the same friends and we go to a lot of the same concerts and art shows, creative events around town. And he knew that I am a filmmaker and I've done a few short documentaries, and he was looking for somebody to just capture this play that Jazmine has been writing and directing and starring in for the last 5 years. And then my wife and I were already talking about going on a trip to Michigan for the summer to get out of the Savannah heat and just kind of see the nature and outdoor activities up there. And so this thing that Chad told us about sounded pretty interesting. And my wife agreed to help film as well, even though she's not, but before this wasn't a big camera operator. But now she is. And so we were thinking we would film for 2 or 3 days and have like a short film. And right on the first maybe half hour of meeting Jazmine, we knew that this was going to be a much more interesting, longer story. And so we ended up filming for 7 days straight. I wish I had brought more crew up there because really it was just me and my wife filming, and Chad filming at times, or just setting up a GoPro, in the car, or an extra camera on a tripod in the room. Just trying to get audio any way we could. I like to mic people up when I can, but we didn't have that luxury in a lot of cases, but we really lucked out with all the audio and visuals for those, especially for those first 7 days. And I knew after we finished the play that this would fit into a feature-length film, but we needed to get more of the backstory and learn more about Chad and Jazmine's relationship and the family's whole history. So we went back a few times over the course of the next year. We brought a drone pilot with us one time and got all the beautiful photography you see of the area of Iron
Yeah.
River, which is really a beautiful place in a lot of really interesting ways. All the iron ore mines that were there have left behind these big pits and these giant ore colored monoliths that stick up and are just kind of there. And then to see how Jazmine is like a celebrity in that town. Everyone knows her. And, you're just walking down the street, people are yelling, Jazmine, wherever you go. And, I've always kind of asked Jazmine, well, hey, how are you going to adjust to life in Beverly Hills someday? And or when are you going to come down to Savannah? And she always says, I'm not leaving Iron River. Iron River is my home.
You mentioned the drone shot thing, Patrick, and I wanted to touch on that a little bit too. I imagine as a visual effects artist, people don't know you've done a lot in the visual effects world and been in, done a lot of projects and stuff like that. And I'm curious how much of every fiber in your being was fighting to not have a drone shot in a documentary, as typically drone shots are in a documentary, or was that kind of a thing that you're going, ooh, I get to do a drone shot?
It's good. It's a good question. Yeah, actually, I have been doing a lot more drone work in my visual effects work.
Okay.
The last few years, so I become more comfortable with drone work, and I don't like when documentaries excessively use drone shots, but I think when you're showing a landscape, it really helps. I tried really hard to put characters in our drone shots. I think that made them more interesting. With Chad on a motorcycle driving through Savannah, it doesn't just look like a stock shot. It's part of the story. And we have the Windsor Center where Jazmine's play takes place, and Jazmine works and goes to Zumba classes there. So we have Jazmine, walking up to that building, and so you get to see what Jazmine's walk to work is like. It ties the story together, and it's not just like pretty shots. I think we tried to really use it as a storytelling device.
I liked it a lot because when Pat and I had talked about Iron River, we talked about Iron River kind of being a character in itself, and trying to capture the essence of that small mining community and the remoteness of it and all of that. And so the drone footage really helped with that. I mean, I think that provided a context that we couldn't have otherwise gotten.
Chad, having brought this to Patrick and then, talking about making something like this, involving your family and something that's deeply personal to you, how much convincing did you have to do within the family to kind of make this happen? I mean, with Jazmine, I imagine she was pretty excited to do something like this, but with the rest of the family and incorporating them and then getting into the deeper personal stories about your family and what you all have been through and everything of that nature, and kind of incorporating all of that into the storytelling aspects of it too.
I had already broken them in with my memoir.
Okay.
But, I think that's one of the strengths of my family is that they are, they know their demons and they know they don't have anything to hide. And I think that they trust me as well. And I think they trusted Pat, which is important, that any portrayal that we would do would treat, people with dignity and respect. And yeah, I mean, it can be a little tricky, dealing with addiction and dealing with, like I said, kind of their colorful pasts. And that's all important to the story because it's amazing that, given some of the adversity some of these characters have faced, they're still able to rally behind Jazmine and pull these things together and just, make a life for themselves in a community that's frankly in pretty rough shape. And so, I think I can recall moments when, Pat and I either had discussions about, do we want to show this? Do we not want to show this? Even some heated discussions, because of like, was it fair to the characters? How would Jazmine come off? How would my mom come off? So yeah, I think you just have to run things by them and trust the filmmaker and trust you know, in this case, one of the producers, you know, myself. And so I think what we came up with was good. If anything, Pat was a better filter than myself.
There were some times where Chad was like, film this, and I was like, nah, they're just tired now. This isn't interesting. This is just you know, somebody needs a nap or something. You know, but you know, you guys were great. Like, there were times when I wanted to film, and Chad, I think you might have been thinking, well, why do you want to film us eating breakfast? This isn't that interesting. But I was like, yeah, but I'm pretty sure you guys are going to say something here. I just got a feeling, and so you did. And you know, it's really frustrating with any kind of documentary, because you think you're filming everything, and then as soon as you turn the cameras off, like some great story happens or some giant argument happens, and you're like, we should have kept rolling. But you just do your best.
Welcome, Jazmine. Thank you for joining us. I was talking to your brother and Patrick a little bit about trust and developing that trust within the family to film something like this and to get as intimate as it did. And I'd be curious, from your perspective, at what point did you feel like you were comfortable enough to share and do the things that you so eloquently did in this film and put out there? And how much of it was there any apprehension on your part, or did you feel like this whole time you were ready for something like this?
It was about 7 years ago that I thought it would be a really good idea, you know, to do this play. And, you know, I'm a tourist, and I always get like very, I'm kind of very sensitive. People always tease me a lot, and I don't take it as well enough, and I, you know, learn to deal with it. And with that, you know, I continue being sensitive, and it comes to my perspective of how I write and how I feel, and that's how this play comes to mind.
Did you trust Pat as a filmmaker, Jazmine, to, like, you know, capture you?
Yes.
In a way that was a good representation of yourself?
When I first came to Pat, and I said, hey, I want to do this film that I really want to do with my vision, and I hope you could, you know, bring it into like this major deal. I don't know how to say this without crying here, but you had made my documentary and my play all in one, a magical ride. And you did so well, Pat, that it helped me realize that I could trust you with everything that I have. And this play can really capture that. And thank you so much, Pat, for this wonderful ride.
Well, thank you very much, Jazmine. It means a lot to hear you say that. You know, I remember we started filming with you back 2 summers ago, and then I think it was a year after that when I was able to show you a rough cut of the film, and I was really nervous because I didn't know what you and your mom were going to think of it, and I had shown Chad some of it, so I knew he was okay with it, but you know, I felt really great. I remember that first time I showed you the rough cut, and you and your mom were cracking up and laughing and talking through the whole movie like you always do. And you were giving me some notes too. You were like, I don't know, we might have to cut that, or oh, you forgot this part. You were some notes, but we addressed your notes. There were some negotiations about what we could keep and what we couldn't. But I think we all are really happy with the final product.
How fun was it, Jazmine, to turn the tables on Patrick, though, and put him in your position and direct him as he acted in your play?
Oh my God, he was so funny, and the way that he put on that jacket, and he was like putting up his arms, like the fawns, and I was like, wow, okay. Okay, Pat was kind of very comedic, but it was really fun to see Pat like that. It
I
was
was
amazing.
channeling John Travolta from Grease, but also a little bit of Henry Winkler from Happy Days, kind of
But
somewhere
with
in
the
between.
You're not dating yourself at all, Patrick, or anything.
no,
Yeah.
Pat, you did the fun. That means the fun. You're not the fun. You're like Travolta.
Okay, right. I know. I got to get the fonts out of my mind.
Yes, yes.
Patrick, you touched on this in chat too. I'd be interested in your perspective on this as well. You both probably had an idea of what you wanted to accomplish when you came into this process. But as documentarians, one of my favorite things about documentaries and watching documentarians work is the idea that whatever you go into is never what you end up with, whether that happens during the time that you're capturing footage, editing. The documentary seems to be like a fan of flames. It takes a life of its own a little bit and breathes on its own, and that changes perspectives. It changes even the narrative at points sometimes. And I'm curious from your perspective how much that happened for this film and what, how exactly you went through that process and how it, came about for you.
Sure.
I'd say Chad, you go first. I'm curious what you think.
Yeah, because I think initially, yeah, it makes sense that I go first because here's what I did is like I knew that there was lots of potential magic, and like I said, I'm a storyteller, not necessarily a filmmaker, but both storytelling mediums. So I knew that Interview with Mom. Interview with Carol Ann in Marquette, might be something special. An interview with Aunt Holly would be important. Putting, sitting down with Jazmine, making sure to give them space without having me there. There's something there. I knew it was going to be rodeo weekend, and I was like, okay, we can get into the rodeo parade. That will be really something, So we're going to be in the rodeo parade. And so I just when they arrived, with the cameras, I had all these things ready to go, probably a lot more than they anticipated. And so we just, shot all of that. And I knew that there would be opportunities in those scenes to pull something together. And so then I think, once Pat did all of that, saw all of that, then he knew, he started seeing a story in that, and he can take it from there.
Can I come in for a minute? But Todd, you forgot to mention that you and Pat went to Clifford Falls, and you did an interview with our late aunt, Faith Peterson, as well, because he talked about me as well in the film as well. In the process.
We did, yeah. All the aunts. I knew that all the aunts were important. I knew that Holly had that, or that Amy had that art group that met in her basement. That would be interesting because they always, helped put things together. I knew the Iron County Museum would be important because we wanted to portray Iron River and have people understand what Iron River was. So, yeah. But then, Pat, after seeing all of that, this is your segue, Pat. I'm assuming, you immediately were like, well, we got to get back there now, because then he saw the gaps. He started to see a narrative, but then he saw the gaps that we needed. Yeah. And so then he kind of took it over from there. Yeah.
Yeah. So after that first week of filming, I started on an outline, and it's funny, like you were saying, Joe, you have your outline, and then at some point it gets flipped around, or the whole thing gets thrown out. And there was a point when Chad came back from his Christmas trip to Michigan, and he had this video of Jazmine and her picture funeral for this guy Billy, who she had a crush on. And I had already filmed some footage of Chad with going through his old love letters to his ex-girlfriend. And that just kind of dawned on me. Okay, well, this is the opening of the film now. Like these two really strong characters dealing with getting over an ex or a crush and finding creativity and imagination as kind of an outlet and a way to move on and come into your own life. And so that is kind of one of the big themes of the film, I guess, is getting over heartbreak. And so that was very unexpected to me. In fact, I tried not to put that in the film originally because Jazmine was telling me about this crush she had on this guy Billy, and I was like, Jazmine, no one cares about that. Like, we're sick of hearing about Billy. And then Chad would be telling me about how he's getting over his ex-girlfriend and this and that, and I'm like, get over it, Chad. You know, but I'm glad we filmed some of that stuff, and then once I realized that was interesting, we leaned into it a little more, and it became, no pun intended, like the heart of the film.
Jazmine, something that really struck me in this movie, and everybody's gonna have a moment, which I think is what's the brilliance of this film is there something that everybody's gonna get attached to. But something that really struck me that you said during your podcast interview that you were doing was the I'm going to have criticism. I know that it's coming, and I'm going to deal with it. And very boldly saying that, and you confessing to us here that you're kind of emotional sometimes, and you have you have feelings that boil over sometimes because you're a Taurus, and that happens. But I'm curious. There for young people out there who are going to watch this and feel like they're in a position where they're getting bullied or they're not so sure of themselves and they want to be artists, what would your advice be to them to deal with the criticism?
Well, for starters, if somebody knocks you down, you always get up and lift yourself up and enjoy everything to the fullest. You can be who you want to be. Anything that you want to be a singer or a dancer or a super secret model or anything. Go out there, try to find it, who you are. And if somebody doesn't like it, who cares? Do what you want to do with your life. Be the person that you want to be and stick with it. And all the haters, go away and leave all the haters behind because you are worth it.
I'm wondering too, Jazmine, how much more fulfilling was this journey for you and seeing play out on screen because your family was with you? How much has that meant to you that they've been involved in your creative process and now being a part of this journey with you as well?
I am so blessed with my whole family. I always loved them since I was a baby. I always, even though I don't show it as much, but I do appreciate what my mom and my dad and my brother, my stepbrothers and stepsisters, everybody in this whole family, all that love. That's my family. The family is the magical way.
Patrick, what was it like for you doing this as indie could be? And what did you love? What did you absolutely love about being indie for this project?
I love just the quickness of this production, like being able to connect with Jazmine just one-on-one, just me filming her in her room, or being able to go over to Chad's house and just interview him and for a couple hours on end and tell me what's on his mind. That was much different than a lot of the work that I've done on bigger productions where we have to storyboard things and have a whole crew there and hope that something emotional happens at the right time, or manufacture some emotional moment at the right time. Whereas with this production, I was just there, and my wife and I were there observing and waiting for life to unfold before us. And so it was just our job to capture it and not overthink any sort of artistic or creative thing. And so I guess that was what I liked. What I liked about it the most was not having to think too much.
Mm-hmm. Did it live up to all your expectations, Chad? Do you feel like you got what you wanted when you started this process?
Yes. Not always, I've always seen this as maybe like a first step. I mean, I think that the story continues, whether it's Jazmine's career and maybe she gets cast in something else, or we have the outtakes, or we have a short docu-series. So yes, it lived up to everything. I see it continuing. Or what else, Jazmine?
Or a Lifetime movie into my
I think
nice.
Yes, I think you can aim higher. I like to see, so if I had a vision, it would be Jazmine playing herself in the feature film version of the documentary, where Matthew McConaughey plays me playing Matthew McConaughey, Meryl Streep plays Kate playing Meryl Streep, and so on. I think that would be fantastic.
So, who would Greg be if he were a dwarf?
Greg should be Sleepy.
Sleepy?
Yeah, Sleepy, yeah.
And then who would I be?
Dopey.
Oh, you seem like you didn't have to think about that one.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, well, because you're always acting like really funny and.
Oh, okay.
In some ways.
And Dopey was really sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you? Who do you see yourself as?
Happy.
Happy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. So right away, happy.
Yeah. Holly would be Doc.
Yeah. Holly would be Doc. Okay.
Yeah.
Mom?
Grumpy.
Grumpy.
Yeah, grumpy. Yeah.
Sometimes I'm envious because you do a lot. Like you are in your room, like filling up journals and just creating all this stuff all the time. And so sometimes I just try to imagine how you see the world. Because I just got a little sad when I said that. Sometimes there's not words for stuff. So I kind of feel that way right now.